Thanks again for joining. So in the previous demonstrations, we've deployed an app, we've scaled the app up, we've scaled the app out, we've brought it back in, and we've done some really cool things with Nanobox dashboard. And in this demonstration, we want to continue on that by showing how you can use Nanobox's intuitive health monitoring and health introspection to be able to inform some of those decisions. So right off we'll notice that we have our list of servers here. In this case we just have the one, and we'll see a bunch of little squares. And what this is showing us a combination in minimized view. It's showing us the live or current health of this server and also the historical. So we can see here, and really what I probably ought to do is find an app that is struggling with resources. It starts to become very apparent and very obvious. In this case, this app is minimal. It's not really being used, and it's barely touching the system's resources. But even still, we can see that at a glance, the first thing to notice is that Nanobox is going to distill the aggregated result into a simple indicator that is going to inform you if your app is happy, or if it's starting to be a little bit stressed, or if your app is in trouble. So that you'll see the color indicators and the faces here. And if we then look, we can see that right now we've got 1% CPU, 51% RAM, 0% swap usage, and 8% disk. And that is the right now overview. And as that starts to change, you'll see this update in real time in your dashboard. And then you just kind of get a really quick overview of kind of how that has looked over the last 24 hours. This is the last 24 hours. And that's really nice to give you just a quick overview of how this server is performing, how the resources have been used. But where things get really cool is when we actually break down into the stats panel. So here we get a lot more information. So first off, we'll notice that the same information that was available up above is now expanded in a more readable format. And we actually can now go back through time. Now this app hasn't really even been alive for very long, but you can kind of see that I can go back through time and get a sense of how this has performed. I can also get a sense of if I'm looking at a time slice of a day, are there certain times of the day where the application or where resources are used more or less than others? So for instance, if I wanted to see RAM usage, looks like, and this app is so contrived it's hard to tell, but on a real app you'll actually see there are some times of the day where resource utilization might go up, might go down. That's really helpful to know if there are certain times, if your current scale, maybe the times that you're looking at it seem okay, but actually at other times they're not, and gives you a sense of if you need a scale. And then lastly, with each individual server, we get a breakdown. So because each server has is running a bunch of containers, and so it's very helpful to know, of those containers that are running on the system, what's the overall usage breakdown. So in this example, we can see that our web application is using 4% of the RAM, no CPU hardly. The database is using 13% of the RAM, again no CPU. The platform, which consists of all of the platform components, your load balancer, your warehouse, your logger, the health monitor, etc. All together is using 14% of the RAM on this server. The system, which is the operating system, the kernel, is using 21%, which leaves us with 49% RAM free and 99% of CPU. So we get a really quick sense of whether or not we have the resources that this application needs. And then one other thing we can do here is we can actually break down into each of the app components, and we can see with each individual component we get some similar toggles. So with each component we can kind of see the breakdown. We get the same thing with the platform services. So I can see maybe the warehouse here. We might perhaps be able to see during times of scale if this changes, and it looks like really not enough to see here. So, but you know, in a real application, this can be very, very helpful in assessing if you have enough resources, if it's time to scale, or really just how are the resources handling the application, and do I need to scale? So hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully you've been able to get a sense of how the intuitive health monitoring can really help distill the complicated process of knowing whether your resources are throttled, need to be adjusted, and can really distill that process down into a simple, intuitive process of determining whether you need to take action. And I encourage you to stay tuned. We've got some other really cool stuff that's just right around the corner. Thanks.